faraway land of magic and mystery, a great evil would emerge. However, a brave and wise and powerful and ridiculously handsome wizard would call upon his magic powers to summon the most ferocious, most awesome, most totally radical team of adventurers the land had ever seen!
Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny is a game that I'm sure for a lot of us immediately looked interesting because it brings together a whole bunch of different Nickelodeon IP into one game, and it's not trying to be a Mario Kart clone or a Smash Brothers clone. This one's actually an action RPG. So I've been looking forward to this for a while, so thank you Game Mill Entertainment for the review code so I could cover this on the channel. Now, the first thing I want to say, at least visually, about Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny is that this game looks absolutely fantastic. During the dialogue scenes, when you have static images, and then even the animated scenes, like the opening and some of the closing scenes, they look absolutely fantastic. I think that the characters are really well written, but understand I'm not too familiar with all of them because a lot of these were way after my time, but for kids, I think they're going to adore the dialogue scenes and all the interactions between these characters that they probably have been growing up knowing and loving. And if you're like a 90s kid or a 2000s kid and you're interested in this too, I think you're going to love it. The writing's excellent. The voice acting for all the characters is top notch. The music is pretty decent throughout the game. It's not something that I would listen to in my leisure, but also wasn't something that I felt compelled to turn off either. And I thought that each of the tracks that you listen to felt appropriate for the different zones and environments that you're going to be in. So now I just want to give you the basic premise of the story. I don't want to go too deep into it because I think it has a lot of charm to it, and I don't want to spoil that for you if you want to experience it firsthand. But the basic premise is that all of these characters are coming together because they're inside of a game. It's a Dungeons and Dragons type of game, so your antagonist is the Dungeon Master, the devious Dungeon Master. Now, who is the Dungeon Master? Well, you'll have to play through it for yourself to find out. But in the beginning, not only are you introduced to this premise, you're also shown the first 5 characters that you can choose to play as. Now, the entirety of this review, I played through single player, but this does have up to 4-player local co-op. So that's probably why they're giving you 5 characters, so you have plenty to choose from. There are 9 total, so each of the first 4 zones are going to earn you 1 additional character. So you will eventually have 9 to choose from. They all have completely different play styles. They're different classes. They have different abilities and skills. They have different weapons they can equip. Any ability you use in this, it's going to drain your mana meter. You obviously have HP as well. These are common things. I'm not going to go too much into the basics, but you will earn XP and level up as you're playing through this, and at certain intervals you will learn new skills. Now, if you look in the bottom left corner of the screen, you can see that you actually have 4 equipped at a time. Each character is capable of learning 6. So you can have 4 of the 6 equipped at any time once you earn all of them. Now, the level cap for the game is level 40, and the first thing I want to say about that is that I hit the level cap with an entire zone still left to go. You could switch between the characters too, in between levels from the hub area, which is called the Tangle. And so that means you are stuck with the character that you choose when you go into a level. The levels aren't super long, so this isn't a bad thing, but just take note that you can't switch on the fly. It's not one of those types of games. Now, being an action RPG, of course, it has all different types of equipment. You have a weapon, you have armor, you have 2 different accessories. The combat is pretty fun and satisfying. I do like that you can just hold the attack button and keep attacking. I hate when you have to keep pushing it, because then that just hurts my wrist. And you can just hold it and then dodge around. It felt almost similar to Hades in the flow of it. Like, your dodge roll isn't quite as fluid as Hades, and I'm not comparing it and saying it's on par with that, but it's similar. It's got that similar type of feel where you can hold attack and then quickly dodge roll out of the way. You are invincible during your dodge roll. You have health potions, which you can heal with. There are also consumables that will drop, and these go in your inventory for that specific character, and these allow you to buff yourself for a set amount of time. Now, the structure of the world is that it is laid out very linear. There is an overworld, which looks like a Dungeons and Dragons style board, right? So you're going to go and earn one level at a time and go through it in a very linear fashion. In each of the 8 different zones has 4 levels, 3, and then the 4th is always a boss fight. All of the boss fights are so good, and they're actually challenging. But what I want to say about that is that they're all spoilers, so other than showing you the first one here, I'm not going to go too much into the boss fights and showing each individual one or anything like that. But they were surprisingly challenging on the highest difficulty, which is something I haven't mentioned yet. At the start of each level, you have your choice between 3 different difficulties. Now, it does give you a recommended level for each one. I wanted to play on the hardest because obviously I'm not a kid, so I wanted at least a little bit of a challenge, which is difficulty at times, mostly in the later game, does supply. But you level up so fast that I was still always above the recommended level for the entirety of the game. So most of the levels, even on the highest setting, aren't very challenging, but then the boss fights actually are a challenge, so that's pretty cool. If you're interested in this for a little kid, maybe they're 7, maybe they're 8, the lowest setting will be perfect. In all of the different upgrade systems and mechanics I'm about to talk about, even if you don't engage with any of them, you will still very easily be able to clear this. Now, here's the part where I want to discuss some things that actually surprised me. This has more in-depth mechanics than I was expecting. So I mentioned you have health potions to heal. There are side quests you can do which will earn you these rainbow crystals. These rainbow crystals allow you to upgrade your healing potion capacity as well as increase how much healing each potion you drink does. So it does incentivize you to do some side quests, and these are fun little diversions. Then additionally, once you unlock Donatello in the Tangle, you can use these purple crystals that you collect to upgrade your equipment and your accessories. And you are going to earn a lot of different types of equipment. There is also a shop in the Tangle. There are different rarities. Mostly it's simplified. I did see gray, blue, and purple, with purple obviously being the highest rarity. And you can either sell your extra equipment or you can dismantle it into more purple crystals, which is really impressive that it incorporated these elements. Now, these are nothing new. I'm not trying to make it sound like, oh my god, these are revolutionary mechanics. So I think this is a fantastic game for young kids to get them into action RPG adventure games. So kudos to the development team for actually including these, introducing you to all of them little by little so you don't ever feel overwhelmed. It has great tutorials throughout the opening part of the game, so little kids and even older players that maybe don't play too many games like this should be able to learn all of these different mechanics. It's awesome. I'm mentioning all of these things because I do understand the target audience is the younger demographic. So for them, I think this is a really solid game and highly recommend this game for young kids. Now, for the adults out there that maybe grew up on some of these cartoons, like myself, is this good for you? Yeah, I think it is. A lot of action RPGs have a certain amount of repetitive nature to the gameplay, but I thought that each zone was varied enough to be interesting. There wasn't a lot of repeats. There are some areas that you repeat a little bit later in the game, so maybe that was a result of them getting to the end of development and needing to finish this to get it out. But for the most part, every single level felt quite a bit different. They're always introducing new enemies to you. All of the bosses were fantastic and on the highest setting. A hearty challenge even for me, and I play a lot of these types of games. Customizing my character, trying out all the different ones, listening to all of the different dialogue, doing the side quests, talking to all the different characters in the Tangle. All of this stuff is really well done. I can't really think of any complaints there. I do think that the game's a little bit on the shorter side for the asking price, but yeah, this is a fun one. That does bring us to the part of my review where I do have some gripes and some issues that I ran into. So the first one you might have already seen when I showed the opening cutscene, and this happens mostly in the animated scenes. Maybe this has to do with the fact that I played the Switch version on Switch 2, because I have seen some visual issues in that scenario, because the Switch 2 is essentially emulating the Switch 1, but there's like this flickering, stuttering kind of effect going on during the animations, and I don't really know what to call it because I've never seen anything like it, but it is a little bit off-putting to look at when you're trying to listen to them talk and it's stuttering and flickering around. So I don't really know what's going on with that one. I have a hunch that it's tied to Switch 2, but I don't know that for sure. And then the next one's when you're upgrading your equipment with Donatello. Well, it unequips whatever it is you upgraded. So for the first few times this happened, I didn't even know what was causing it, but I did figure it out. And then in the third zone, and also the seventh, I believe it happened, the mini-map is inaccurate. I don't know if they changed the level and didn't redraw the mini-map or what happened here, but it doesn't actually show you the proper layout, and it could be a little bit confusing if you're putting all your attention on the map and really following it, as you have seen me do. I usually have it, the big version of it, where it's transparent and in the middle of the screen. And then obviously you could shrink it and put it off to the side. And the same goes for your quests on the right side of the screen. You could shrink these or expand them. Then by far the biggest issue I personally ran into is in the fifth zone. I fell right off the map. And this was essentially the equivalent of a soft lock. I went right through the collision, fell down below. You can't get out of here. I had to pause it, restart the level, lost like 10 to 12 minutes of progress. Yeah, I wasn't too happy because I don't enjoy when that type of thing happens, but that's pretty much all of my complaints though. Like, I thought the balancing was really good, and each of the different difficulties will cater to a different skill set. I liked all the variety across the entirety of the game, all the zones. It encourages exploration as you'll find chests. There's plenty of barrels and boxes as well you can smash during levels to earn some extra gold and crystals. There is a challenge totem on each of the regular levels that will net you some extra loot. If you want to grind the bosses and refight them, you can do that, since the boss chest at the end of these fights will give you the best loot in the game. I mean, there's a lot here to do, right? For that 6 or so hours. But then I think the problem lies in the fact that there's really not anything to do post-game, unless, of course, you didn't do all the side quests, but there's no extra content after you roll the credits. So, whatever you didn't do, that's all you have left. There's no unlockable costumes. There's no New Game Plus or harder difficulties. There's really no incentive to return. So I do want to reiterate that this is a $50 game, and it's a shorter experience. Is it worth it for you? I can't decide that, only you can. But if I'm just definitively giving you my recommendation, or if I don't recommend it, yeah, I recommend it. I had a lot of fun with it, and it was far better than I thought it was going to be, even though I did think it looked great. This is a perfect game for parents to play with their kids, or for your kids to play together. And hey, if you're older like me, there's fun to be had here. Don't expect something that's going to be brutally difficult, but the highest setting should give you enough challenge to keep it interesting throughout. That ended up being a much longer review than I was expecting to do, but to be fair, it ended up being more complicated than I thought it was going to be. If there happened to be anything that I missed, please let me know in the comments, and I'll definitely answer you. I like to answer as many questions as I can on my reviews, so feel free to ask away. I do appreciate you watching this through all the way to the end because it was pretty darn long. I hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. So if you did, make sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and click the bell icon for notifications for all my uploads as I review and cover lots of different games here on the channel. As always though, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.